Hello, welcome to Chadika's Kitchen. Today I'm preparing smoky patty jollof. I had my birthday in July and the comments from the food were quite overwhelming, and my friends requested I must post the recipe. So this is just me preparing another batch of jollof rice. Here we have the ingredients I use in preparing the jollof sauce, which are tatashe. This is actually the dry tatashe. I removed the seeds, that's I deseeded it and then soaked in a hot water for a while. We also have deseeded shobo. It's preferable to deseed your shobo and tatashe, because if you don't do that, it's gonna give a bitter taste. You have onions, fresh garlic, pepper, tomatoes, rosemary, and bay leaves. Here I'm preparing the jollof base, just putting in a bit of oil in my pot, and then I'm gonna season the oil by adding salt for taste. Then I put in my fresh tomatoes. If you want your jollof to really come out rich, it's advised that you use an appreciable amount of tomatoes. Use an appreciable amount of all the ingredients so the rice can really come out rich. Next, I'm putting in my deseeded shobo. Next is fresh pepper. And then I'm seasoning the jollof base with rosemary. I love rosemary. It gives a distinct aroma. Next, I'm putting in bay leaves. After the bay leaf, I'm gonna add in thyme, then no chicken seasoning cubes. I prefer the chicken seasoning cubes for jollof rice because it has a lesser salt content. Next, I'm gonna add my Benny chicken flavor, chicken seasoning to the jollof base. Next, I'm adding fresh onions. Onions add sweetness to your food, so the more the onions, the tastier your jollof. So add as much onions as you can. I'm also going to add my fresh grated garlic. Give it a good stir. Ensure that it's thoroughly mixed. At this point, you can taste the jollof base, and if you are not satisfied with the taste, you can as well increase the seasoning. Next, I'm going to add fresh grated ginger. All this enhances the taste of your jollof rice. I'm also adding a little bit of curry powder. I'm not really a fan of curry, but is essential in jollof rice, so you can just add based on what you desire. I'm going to allow this to cook for 15 minutes because the tomatoes is frozen, and just allow it cook till you notice a color change. I'm actually adding lasso beef seasoning to further enhance the taste of the jollof paste, and I also added more bay leaves. So after 15 minutes, you can see that the tomatoes and every other thing has been cooked. You notice the color change. Here is just how I prepare my rice. I soak it in boiling water for a while till I notice a color change. Right now, I am frying the jollof stew or the jollof sauce, as the case may be. Just going to add in oil. I'm going to add in a pinch of salt to the oil for taste. This is just me bringing out my ingredients. I have rosemary, thyme, dried onions in the purple and white variant, and dried shallots. You know, dehydrated onions are advised when cooking. It's advised you use it because they are able to retain much of their original flavors. So when you use them to cook, they're able to rehydrate quickly, and then this adds depth to your food. It adds depth in the taste of your food. And you know, shallot is also a variant of onions. So I'm frying my onions for the jollof stew. Remember, the more the onions, the tastier your food. So just allow the onions to fry till it's golden brown. I'm also going to add a ball of garlic, fresh garlic. Right now, we're also building flavors to fry the jollof sauce. We're building flavors. We're starting from the oil. Right now, I'm adding my freshly grated ginger. Ginger and garlic, they are essential for jollof and jollof rice, fried rice. It's going to enhance the taste of the food. You're going to fry it till it's golden brown. If you ask me, I would say preparing jollof rice is a labor of love. It takes time. I'm further going to season the oil by adding bay leaves, I'm going to add in rosemary, a little bit of thyme, Not really a time person, but I'm going to add a little bit of it. Allow it to fry for at least a minute or two. Then I'm going to add in my dried white onions. White onions is actually like it's sweeter than the purple onions. Next, I'm adding my dried purple onions. Then my dried shallots. I'm also adding curry. I'm going to allow this fry a little bit. In goes my tin tomatoes. This is about 800 grams of tin tomatoes for 30 cups of rice. Yeah, this is the pot I'm going to use to cook the jollof. You need that stainless steel aluminium pot. That's what you need so that your rice can burn, so that you can have that patty jollof rice. You allow your tin tomatoes to fry sufficiently. Then you add your blended pepper mix. Allow this to fry, but have the information that you've already fried your tin tomatoes sufficiently and you've cooked your base sufficiently, so you don't really need to overcook at this point. So at this point you can add your Maggi signature jollof to enhance the flavor. Yeah, this is just my washed rice and I'm adding the jollof sauce. I'm going to give it a thorough mix. So at this point, this is the remaining sauce. You don't have to add all your sauce at a go. You can add it in batches. So what I did there was I added the Maggi signature jollof. You can as well add your lasso stew seasoning. This is to enhance the color of your jollof base, to darken it, and then Maggi signature jollof is really nice. You are supposed to do this when you have the bulk of the jollof sauce, but I guess I forgot, so I'm doing this right now. Give it a good stir. You don't want to add this colored seasoning in your rice because it will give it different shades of color, so it's best you add it to your sauce or your stew, your jollof stew. So I'm adding it back into the rice. Give it a good stir so that everything is thoroughly mixed. Turn that rice. So after you've stirred it and you're okay, at this point you can taste your rice. So I'm going to add my meat stock. Jollof rice, you can mix your meat stock. If you have turkey meat stock, beef, goat, you can use a variety of meat stock. This will enhance the taste of your food. So after putting my meat stock, I'm going to allow it to cook for an hour. I'm going to allow it to sufficiently cook for an hour in the flavor of the meat stock firstly. So right now, this is how I add water to my jollof. I don't add plain water. I take a portion of water. I take a portion of the jollof base. I mix properly, and then I add it to the jollof. I don't add plain water to my jollof. So I'm going to allow this to cook. Jollof is not something you keep stirring. You just allow it cook. So I'm going to season the rice. Most of the seasoning is going to go to the rice right now. And I'm going to season based on the taste of the meat stock. If it's so salty, if it's not so salty. I'm not going to season one. So as I add in water, I'm going to reinforce the taste with my dried onions variants as well as my rosemary. So you don't have your rice you don't have you adding water and then your rice looking for flavors. As I add water, I reinforce the flavors. So I'm seasoning right now with a little bit of curry. All the seasoning now will go to the rice. Go to the rice. I'm going to cover this. You shouldn't stir your jollof. You can open and just check as the rice cooked. If it's not cooked, you add your water. As the case may be, you add your stewed water, you add your seasoning to the water, and then you reinforce with your dried onions variant. You keep doing this process till your rice gets soft. And for a big batch of jollof rice, maybe you don't have the industrial gas, this is how you ensure it's properly cooked. You turn your pot instead of turning your rice. So if you notice that this particular spot, the rice is sufficiently soft, you can move the pot. For this kind of pot, you can move it to the part that is not cooked, and that's how you are able to ensure that everything is cooked. I'm also adding my lasso chicken seasoning at this point. I think I used a sachet because we already have the meat stock that's been, it has a lot of flavor. Adding penny also. And then I'm reinforcing with my dried onions variant. So this is my dried shallot. And then rosemary. And then thyme. So I'm going to still allow the rice to cook. You can see, I'm going to allow the rice to cook. I'm going to cover it. At any point, if you have foil paper, you can cover with the foil paper, so all the steam and heat is being trapped. My meat stock is really frozen, but I'm going to use it like that. I haven't stirred the rice. I'm just going to allow it to cook sufficiently. Shouldn't stir your rice. You should stir your rice only when it's ready. So I'm still seasoning the rice. I'm adding my Knorr chicken seasoning cubes to the rice. I notice when I season the sauce, the jollof stew with all the seasoning at a go, it gives me a salty rice. So that's why I started seasoning the rice. So right now, at this point, I am still ensuring that the rice is sufficiently cooked. So right now I'm going to smoke the jollof rice. I'm going to smoke it. This is what gives it that unique patty jollof rice. How will I smoke it? I'm going to create spaces in the rice, like just lift up some parts of the rice to create like holes on the rice. After I created the hole, I put in the remaining jollof base inside the holes. You can see the smokiness. You can as well create the holes and put in butter, but personally I love to smoke with the jollof base. That's how I love to smoke my rice. But if you don't want to do that, you can create these holes and put in butter. But you can see the smoke is just popping out from the pot. You can do this for 10 minutes. You can do it for 20 minutes. Even while the rice is still cooking, you can be smoking it simultaneously. Or you can wait for the rice to cook sufficiently before you smoke. At this point, you can't really make any mistake because your rice is okay. You've built in you've built flavors. You're just smoking. So you can leave it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I forgot to mention that all the while I've been cooking, it has been on low heat. But by the time you want to smoke your rice, once you create these holes and put in the sauce, you have to put your gas on high. Put it on the highest and let it smoke for 10-15 minutes. You can also put the burnt portion of the jollof sauce. It further enhances the smokiness of the rice. Right now, I'm going to garnish my rice with white onions. That's just what I'm going to use. You can also put fresh tomatoes, carrots. But if you don't want your rice to go bad easily, you can just leave it plain with white onions. So the last thing I'm going to add is nutmeg. Yeah, it gives it a unique aroma. I'm going to add a little bit of nutmeg. You can also put dried garlic. dried garlic also is nice. You can use this at the end of, you can use this when you're done. You can mix the nutmeg with dried garlic, but nutmeg is okay. At this point, you now turn your rice. So this is the first time I am turning the rice. Even after I turn the rice, I can still further smoke it by just ensuring that those holes I bored are still open, and allow the rice to dry sufficiently. Once you're done cooking the rice, you cover the pot and you allow it to remain on the gas for at least maybe 10 or 20 minutes. So, but the initial time I turned the rice, I noticed it was not sufficiently dried, so I covered it and allowed it to, the moisture to further dry up. And then I'm now turning it again. So I think I turned it about twice. It's a big batch. So at this point, I am still turning the rice. I left it even after smoking for it to dry, and just ensuring that everything is properly mixed. Caterers in the house, they know that turning jollof rice is just one of the most difficult parts of cooking jollof rice. You just have to be patient and turn your rice. So at this point, your jollof is ready. Like I mentioned earlier, you just cover it, allow it to sit on your gas. Put off your gas and allow it to just sit for a while. I'm just still turning my rice with a bigger wooden spoon. So right now, the jollof is ready. For those that have eaten my, I'll say, if you know, you know. So this is just a video of the jollof, turkey, and salad. Come and join me. Voila! Thank you for watching.